Yes, what's happening, people? We are back with a bang. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the channel. Listen, I thought we'd do an Arsenal chat today, and there's no one like I'd prefer to bring on than my brother DG. Deluded, what you telling me, bro?
Come on, Dan, man. It's always appreciated for the invite, man. And it's lovely. I'm sure we're going to get onto it, but it's lovely to be on your channel where it's more of a positive climate, man. So, yeah, love for inviting me, man. Happy
Nah,
about
come
this.
on, man. Listen, you're always welcome. You know that, bruv. And
Come
it's
on.
been a while since it's just been me and you. It's been on this channel, man. It's normally on your channel where we're chatting. So
Yeah, man. We
it's
need to
always
get some
good
more
to.
going on your thing, man.
Yeah, we do, man. It's always good to chat to you, man. But how's been things been your end? What you been up to? You been busy?
Yeah, man. Busybody as always. You know how it gets with us content creators, man. Just content upon content upon content. Just living and maintaining, my guy. And I'm sure we'll get onto it again. But, every time we have a result like we did on Sunday, it makes times worth it, man. So, yeah, same old for me, man.
Yeah, listen, it's always easier when you're talking about a win, that's for sure, man. And it's
Amen.
been a strange few weeks for Arsenal, ups and downs, brother. But back to winning ways. Wanted to get first of all your thoughts on the Liverpool game. A little bit of a different setup in terms of Kai Havertz starting up top and Jorginho in the middle and a double pivot with Declan Rice. But in terms of the actual game itself, other than the comical goals that we conceded and that they conceded, what did you make of it, man? Was you happy?
I mean, of course, the result in isolation is fantastic to beat Liverpool, broski. I mean, if we want to be able to win the league, I guess that's a whole nother debate, but you need to be able to beat Liverpool and Man City. And we've done that this season. Obviously, it's in the title. Going into the Dubai trip, things were a bit sour. I won't quite say we've turned the corner, but from 9 points available, we've taken 9. We let them come to our ground and we somewhat spoiled, the Jurgen Klopp farewell tour. So I'm proud of the result. I think Mikel Arteta, he got all his calls spot on. I think the players, man to a man, won their battles. Obviously, it's always nice to score goals against the big teams. It's lovely to see Martinelli and Saka bagging. You touched on it, and the only thing I won't quite say take the gloss off it, but a silly goal to concede going into halftime for all the dominance. And that's the only thing I could say with the Liverpool game and the Nottingham Forest game is that we've conceded 2 goals where we didn't need to, and we should have kept a clean sheet, man. But we bossed. I thought Benjamin White was quality as well. You touched on it. I think Kai Havertz, probably his more standout moments in an Arsenal shirt have probably been when he's come off the bench and played up front or when he started up front. I don't quite think he's the striker for us, but it worked really and truly. Everything worked. And I think it was, Saka's goal was first. That was a thing of beauty. Like, you was at the stadium, so you obviously saw, the quick distribution from Raya, which was a constant, and every player involved. And mate, I'm going to be kind to Kai Havertz and say he meant to hit that shot off Alisson. Another day we might be looking at that differently, but all in all, man, great performance, big 3 points, and hopefully this gives us a boost to keep going. But as you know, it don't mean nothing if we go and mess it up against West Ham. So long may it continue, broski.
Yeah, 100, man. Listen, I want to touch on a couple of things you've said there because for me, the frustrations were that Kai Havertz missed, but actually, he had a really good game, I thought. And I've been saying it for a while, bruv, that I want to see Kai Havertz be the type of different dimension striker coming off from the bench, whether it be an Olivier Giroud type, or if we actually do see anything from him, then it needs to be in the final third. I'm sick and tired of seeing this number 8 from Kai Havertz and it being forced to made to work. And for the first time in a while, I think Mikel Arteta might have realised that perhaps he is now looking differently at Kai Havertz and seeing him further forward. Do you expect that to continue while Jesus is out, bruv?
I mean, it could be something. I mean, you could say jack of all trades, master of none. And Kai Havertz, I won't say he's, convinced everybody that he could play up front. I'm sure Chelsea fans have had this conversation in the eight row. I agree with you in that you're left wanting more. You're left wanting something in the final third. He just seems like a multifunctional kind of player, essentially a utility man. And that's where I see his role, unless he was to start scoring goals as a false 9 or playing in the 8 and really dominating. But again, it's not that we've got many options. I think if we're going against 2 men mountains in Konate and Van Dijk, then naturally, because Kai Havertz is quite tall, he's going to be someone that's going to play up front. He allows us to go long. I won't say he's won all of the duels against Van Dijk and Konate, but he's better at that than obviously Trossard. Obviously, Trossard's better as a false 9. So it's got to be something, At the end of the day, Mikel Arteta, bro, you know it yourself, he spent 65 million on this guy. So he's going to have to make it work in some capacity. And if this is the best we get from Kai Havertz, I'm not saying I don't want more, but we're not talking about him in a negative light. He hasn't become arguably the scapegoat or the talking point. He's not in my titles or my vids or yours. So, yeah, he's going to have to find something. I mean, I would prefer another striker, as I'm sure you'd agree. But, yeah, as I said at the start, I think Kai Havertz, if anything, if he was to put like a highlights package together, him as a 9 is probably the more standout games from him per se. Over 90 minutes in central midfield, you're probably left wanting more. And I think in that game against Liverpool, when you brought, I think bringing in Jorginho was great. To be fair, he played great in the FA Cup, but Declan Rice is allowed to do his thing. Odegaard isn't dropping deep consistently. I just think it kind of worked a bit better there, if I'm honest. I think, there's got to be a correlation between Kai Havertz coming off the left-hand side, of Jorginho going in there, and Zinchenko and Martinelli contributing a lot more on the ball, man.
Yeah, facts, man. Listen, before we move away from that position in itself, Jesus being injured, man. Listen, it kind of worked in a blessing for the Kai Havertz situation, but Jesus is now injured again. He's a player like everybody talks about: Tomiyasu, Thomas Partey, Timber, Zinchenko, Kieran Tierney was always another guy. Jesus is up there with getting injured quite a lot, bruv. I can't lie, and it's not something I ever saw at Manchester City. Now, maybe it's because he wasn't Man City's main guy and he wasn't playing a load of games, but it wasn't like he sat on the bench and waited for Aguero to get injured. He was actually contributing. Now, I'm not saying we need to get rid of him, but is it just even more evidence to prove that we do need a centre forward that can upgrade on that position and allow Jesus to be that guy to come in and around the team, even if it's backing up Saka at times on the right wing, bruv?
I mean, bang on the money, Me and you spoke about it when you was last on my stream. Mikel Arteta made those comments about we've got one of the finished squads, and it's such a shame that when you've got that, and we've got the names you said are quality players, the Tomiyasus, the Partey's, etc. The best trait you could have is being available. And I don't describe Gabriel Jesus as an injury-prone player. He is fairly durable. He's a warrior, but it is kind of worrying the amount of injuries he picks up. Now, it does seem like it's in the same area and a bit recurring. I don't know why that is. I hope we can get it right. But yeah, bro, we need a striker. We need more additions in midfield. We need strikers. Yeah, man, it's very concerning because he's a great player. As you said, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise because Kai Havertz got to show what he's about. But yeah, it's quite scary with Gabriel Jesus, man. The best trait you could have is being available, man.
Yeah, facts, man. Listen, we'll come on to the strike a bit in a minute. I want to talk about another position, though, because something else we've seen changed. Everyone, well, not everyone, but me and a few others were crying out for was Jorginho to come in. Now, I must say, DG, when he came in, I thought it was going to be very similar setup in terms of Rice pushing forward into the kind of Havertz role in the number 8 and Jorginho sitting. But it looked to me as if majority of the game it was a double pivot, and I thought it worked. It complemented both Declan Rice and Jorginho, and then Martin Odegaard was kind of more free flowing and allowed him to press a little bit more in the number 10 type role. What did you make of the performances of Jorginho and Rice? And do you think that's something we can continue going forward, bro?
What more can I say, man? They bossed it. I think they complemented each other very well. Jorginho, it seems like, I think he obviously made the mistake against Spurs going back to the North London derby. And I think him and Jorginho had a very tough 45 minutes when we played Chelsea. But it seems like the bigger games, the more chess matchy kind of games, Jorginho kind of comes into his own. You just wish he was a few years younger and a bit more athletic. But I think the pivot worked. As I was saying with Odegaard had more freedom to roam and do his thing and drop when he wants. So I think in general, there was more of a balance there. And again, Mikel Arteta says he's got to find internal solutions. We don't know when, if Partey will be back. We can't move for anyone in January. So, January's gone. So, yeah, Jorginho's going to have to be an option, really and truly. But then if he goes and plays rubbish against West Ham, I'm sure we'll revisit this. But based on the Liverpool game, it's a genuine option. And it's not like we got anything else, really and truly. So, yeah, man.
What do you make of the Jorginho signing looking back now? And would you be tempted to extend him for another year?
I said it at the time. It was underwhelming, but I don't think he was as bad a signing as people made out. I think we've got what we've paid for with Jorginho. There's been some difficult moments. The majority of it's been good. You can see his experience. We're not flies on the wall at London Coley or whatever, but you can see he's almost like one of Mikel Arteta's lieutenants. He's always, even through that game, and you was at the game, he's coaching the rest of his players through it. I think there's a lot of experiences that Jorginho can transfer to other players, really. It's a difficult one in terms of the contract because, now with that game against Liverpool, you are thinking, yes. Me personally, I think it depends on what Jorginho wants to do. Does he want to go back to Italy? Does he want to go back to Brazil? Does he want to get a payday from Saudi? Is he happy to stay for another year? I personally think his contract will be extended by a year because El Nene's probably gone. Partey, if the club, in my opinion, get what they want, they'll probably get his wages off. And Jorginho will just hang around like a spare part for another year as we kind of naturally phase him out kind of thing, provided we bring a centre midfielder in. But I think he stays, if I'm honest with you. I genuinely think this time next year, Jorginho will be here. But who knows, man?
Yeah, I must say, I think it's something that Arteta will look to investigate, and I think he'll consider it very wisely in the last few performances we've seen. Now, I don't think Jorginho is the player that we need to go and win us a title, but if we look at our midfield, I think we need to revamp it because we've got Partey, we've got El Neni, Jorginho's up in there, that leaves Rice. So we need to be serious and we'll talk about where we're going to be going moving forward at that midfield. So I don't think they're all going. I think someone's got to stay. So, along with
Facts.
Rice. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there and who we do look to bring in, man, for sure. Listen, the one thing that people have said in the last couple of games is that maybe not against Palace, but certainly against Liverpool, we were a lot more free flowing, and it was a little bit like watching Arsenal from the start of last season, where we were just electric. And I did kind of see glimpses of that again, and it was really nice to see. Do you feel like looking at the performances of Saka and Martinelli and looking at some of the transition in midfield that Arteta has still got that in his locker and we'll start to see more of that moving forward with Arsenal now?
I hope so, man. I think it all depends on the game conditions. But when I see stuff like that against Liverpool and actually against Crystal Palace and to a degree against Nottingham Forest, I'm starting to believe more than anything. I know a lot's been said about Mikel Arteta, and I guess maybe there was an element of overcoaching, not putting the handbrake down and allowing his team to do what they're doing. But I think a lot of it is psychological, man. It looked like these players against Liverpool genuinely believe Liverpool are a great side. Their players have accomplished everything, but we can do something in 90 minutes. You saw everybody wanting to win their individual battles. And I always say, when the individuals take care of themselves, the collective does the rest. And there was a lot more belief in how we was playing, man. And I genuinely think it's a lot of it is psychological. And I hope we get to see that free-flowing football, because at the end of the day, every fan, regardless what team they support, bro, you want to be excited. You want to watch your team. You want to be in awe of it. And I mean, we're Arsenal Football Club, definitely after Wenger came in, we've become accustomed to things like that. So for me, long may it continue. And to go back to your point about midfield, it's not like we can really do much, really and truly. It's like we kind of have to commit to play that, because we haven't really got the most tenacious like destroyers, with Jorginho and Declan Rice and Odegaard and Zinchenko and the kind of. I always say at times I think we're a team of midfielders at times. So I think it has to stay really and truly. I think we need to think about the opposition and what they bring. But yeah, I want to see it stay, and I think we've kind of got no choice with the options available to us, man.
Yeah, man, fair play to you, bro. Listen, Saka and Martinelli have got a lot of stick this season, and I think in some games it's been justified and justifiably so. But I thought both of them were magnificent at the weekend. Martinelli just absolutely tore Liverpool's defence a new one, and I think Saka really complemented in contribution again. What do you make of these two and the style of play thing? Because I feel personally like it definitely has had an effect on the way that they're playing. But I also think that this controlled football that Arteta has said he does. What did he say? He doesn't like control. He doesn't
He
like the
likes
world
dominance.
control. Dominance. That's the word he said. Doesn't like control. He likes dominance. Listen, I don't care what you call it. It's definitely different to last season. And I think Saka and Martinelli are two players that have definitely been affected by that. But I still feel like when you look at the numbers and you look at the contribution of Saka in particular, you would look at it and go, oh, he's had an all right season. He's scored this amount of goals. He's assisted this amount of goals. And for 22 years old, you look at him and think, how good could he be?
Facts.
Martinelli, likewise, in the last couple of games. I know he come on against Palace and got a couple of goals. Fairly quiet against Forest, I thought, but certainly in the Liverpool game was one of our better players. I think we can go on a run with these two now, DG.
I hope we can, man. I mean, for me, I think a bit of it is probably how teams set up. I think a lot of it is kind of what we said about at times maybe Mikel Arteta micromanaging a bit too much and maybe needing to pull it back. But it just shows how great these two players are, man. I mean, I don't like to use the age thing, but people genuinely forget how young they are. We look at them like they're Son Heung-min or Mohamed Salah and things like that. They're going to go through periods where they lose their form. And I think it goes to the midfield. I think when you've got someone that likes to play like Jorginho, that players more attacking players like the Odegaards and stuff can gamble because he's got the vision and quality to find them. Naturally, that opens up space all over. Like the one thing I liked about the Liverpool game is for a while, I know we spoke on Palace, but for a long time, I haven't really seen our wingers getting the ball where they're running in behind. It's always receiving it with their back towards the opposition and they're having to dance past 3-4 players. So I hope it continues, man. You know, whatever Mikel Arteta did, if it's mental, if it's to little tactical tweaks, it needs to continue because really and truly our bread and butter is Martinelli and Saka, in particular Saka. You said it yourself and you're on social media. You see all the agendas and the goalposts that get moved where Bukayo Saka is. He's our cash money. He's essentially our difference maker. And long may it continue, man. Get these guys into goal scoring positions. They score goals. This ain't rocket science, bro. You know this.
Yeah, facts, man. Listen, let's go from striker and midfield to defense because I feel like we need to talk about this season. I know we've conceded more goals than last season, but certainly as a unit and as a department in defence, it's something that I think we've definitely improved upon. Before I start talking about some of the other things I've noticed from Dubai and since we've come back from Dubai, I want to talk about them individually. Gabriel's got Player of the Month for us this season, and I would argue has probably been our best centre half or best defender. I think this season a lot of people are putting Saliba forward for that, rightly so. He's been great. I think Gabriel gets overlooked and is underrated, bruv. I've got to say this. And I understand the love for Saliba because of his age. And I understand that he's the next best thing and we think he's going to be world class. I think Gabriel's probably one of Mikel Arteta's best signings in the last 4 years. And I think that sometimes you look at the performances and you start to question who's had the better game. And sometimes it has been Gabriel. So I was really pleased to see that he got the recognition this month, man. What have you made of him this season, bro?
I mean, I've done a video on it. I think Gabriel's one of the most underrated players in the team, one of the most underappreciated players in the league. I think he's someone that Arsenal fans and football fans, when he makes a mistake, everybody's loud. When he plays great, it's amazing. And I feel a lot of people were even attributing the own goal to Gabriel. Me personally, I think Saliba's got to do much better. As you said, Gabriel, he's been quality this season. He's a man mountain. It sounds dumb, but in the present day, he's a defender that likes to defend. I think him and Saliba complement each other very well. And obviously, Saliba's been great too. But I'm with you with that. Gabriel's been central, and it makes you look back to August. And I know there was rumblings about Saudi Arabia and things like that. But it makes you go back in time when Gabriel was on the bench for Arsenal. I would love to know Mikel Arteta's thinking behind that, really. So, yeah, man, I agree with you. I don't think Gabriel's been given his praise. I think even when you say Gabriel, you attribute the bozo gene to him and making mistakes. And that is an element of his game. But I think they've kind of been rough. The rough areas have been edged out. And if he does make mistakes, they're once in a blue moon. So, yeah, Gabriel's been a perfect signing for us. And one of the best signings Mikel Arteta has made at this club, essentially, man. Quality player, having a quality season.
Yeah, facts, man. Last 2 seasons, Gabriel's the highest scoring centre back in the Premier League as well, man.
That helps the FPL points as well, man. So yeah, big up Gabby on that one.
Get him in your team, man. Get him in the FPL team. Listen, let's just quickly touch on Saliba. I did mention him. The last couple of games, man, he's actually been at fault for both the goals. I think Forest, he got bodied by Awoniyi. And then in this game, it was just absolute calamity. He just needed to get it out. He's waiting for Raya, miscommunication, and then it led to a goal. I mean, I must say Gabriel and Raya didn't really do too much to help, but at the same time, I'm putting my blame on Saliba for that one. Is this just a moment for him? Has he got enough credit in the bank? There's no worries or concerns for you here, bro?
I mean, he's got enough credit in the bank, man. You look at any time Saliba's made a mistake, you can probably count on one hand. I feel the whole team, I feel Zinchenko could have done much better watching the Nottingham Forest game again, and Gabriel and Saliba, but Saliba's overcovered. I can understand it. Sunday League, Raya, come and help your centre back, but when in doubt, kick it out. And I think that's Saliba's gift and curse. In today's day and age, you've got to be calm on the ball. 9 times out of 10, we'll get away with that. That was the one time where maybe he's unaware. And I think with Arsenal fans, it's okay to criticize Saliba. We know he's a quality player. As I said, you can count these errors on one hand. But them kind of moments for me, it reminds you that he is in his early 20s and he's going to make these mistakes, really. But, Saliba's been quality. It just needs to get back to it, really. And, the very fact that we can micro pick mistakes he has or hasn't done just shows the quality of him. But, yeah, I do think the buck kind of stops with Saliba, if I'm honest with you, with the Liverpool goal. And it feels like there's a reluctance to criticize him. I don't want criticism of anyone for no reason, but don't deny what's in front of your eyes, innit? Again, if Gabriel did that, not to put them against each other, we'd all know, innit? And some people tried to blame Gabriel. I can understand maybe Raya could have done better, Gabriel could have done better, but I think Saliba's got to do a bit better there, man. He's a quality player. Better players than him or have been in the Prem have made mistakes. He'll get back to it, man.
Yeah, 100. I've got no problems with it. I feel personally like he's still one of the best out there, one of the best around. Listen, we've got Tomiyasu and Timber coming back, bruv, right? And a lot of people are saying there's a neutral. Oh, wow, scary. But, okay, it ain't going to be scary for other teams. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be bloody important as far as Arsenal are concerned because it's the back end of the season now that we're heading towards. Champions League's around the corner. And I just wanted to get your opinion on both of these players and whether you think they can actually force themselves into the first team, Timber and Tomiyasu, because both of them are very versatile and defensively have looked very good, man.
It's some good options to have, really and truly. They can both play all across the back four. I think we need them. For Timber, I'm kind of I've mentally written him off for this season. Again, I hope he's back, but you know, the ACL and all of that stuff. He has been named in the Champions League squad, so hopefully he can play a part. We need Tomiyasu back. You know, unfortunately, a bit like Partey when you mentioned Tomiyasu, his injuries, but you know, we didn't buy anyone in January, so we need our players back. And for me, if Tomiyasu is fit, Zinchenko had a decent game against Liverpool, but Tomiyasu's in there for West Ham. We need them back, really. We still got to go to the Etihad, got to go White Hart Lane, got to go Old Trafford, which, you know, is a difficult place for us. With the greatest of respect to Zinchenko, I'm a lot more confident with Tomiyasu in those moments, even if not to start games, to see out games, essentially, as what could have been the case with the Nottingham Forest game. Again, I think if Tomiyasu's there, Zinchenko's playing people on side, and we spoke about what happened. So yeah, man, we need Tomiyasu immediately. And Timber was probably going to be one of the players of the season. Obviously, Declan Rice is quality, but in August, Timber was the guy. He had a fantastic performance against City, and it's a big injury. But yeah, we need them back. If we could wake up and Timber's fit, great. Tomiyasu, we need you to stay fit. But you know, it's that age-old thing, bro. When some players come back from fitness, others are going to get injured. This is the life we live, essentially. But welcome them back, man. Couldn't get them back anytime sooner, bro.
Yeah, facts, man. Just on Tomiyasu quickly. Would you start him if Zinchenko's out against West Ham ahead of Kiwior?
Yeah, I'd start him anyways. Big up Zinchenko, but I'd start him anyways just because we've seen this movie, really. And with the greatest of respect to Zinchenko, because I do think there's an air of unnecessary criticism and scapegoating. But naturally, if it's Arsenal's strongest 11 now, bro, or Arsenal's strongest 11, and we assume Zinchenko's in that, if you're David Moyes or any opposition manager, I'm not saying everybody's world-class and great, but you know you're not going to get too much out of Gabriel and Saliba or Benjamin White, etc. The one glaringly quote-unquote weak spot would probably target Zinchenko. You know he runs into midfield, so there's space. You know he'll play people on side. You know he's not the greatest 1v1. So naturally, without criticizing Zinchenko, that's where you want Bowen and Kudus running in behind and kind of testing himself. For me, I would go with Tomiyasu, really. If Zinni's fit, he's earned the right to start, but I'd be a lot more comfortable against West Ham on Sunday with Tomiyasu at left back, man.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I like Zinchenko on the ball a lot. And I think going forward, he really is vital and pivotal, particularly to the absolutely outstanding start we had last season. But defensively, he has frailties, man. And I have my concerns over it. You know, I believe at Anfield, he could have done better against Salah. I think at Fulham at home, he was poor for giving away the corner. And, you know, at Chelsea, he was pretty poor, I think, Stamford Bridge. There's been a few games, man, this season where I've looked at him and thought, it's not you again. So I feel personally like Tomiyasu or Timber will probably, when everyone's fit, be considered as the left back that we use. And this season, this weekend, I would 100% be going with Tomiyasu. Thought Kiwior did all right, to be honest, when he came on at half-time against Liverpool.
Yeah, he was
but I just don't think he's a left back, bro. I just don't think he is. I think left centre back as a cover for Gabriel. I haven't actually minded him when he has slotted in there, but as a left back, it just ain't for me, bro. But let's talk about the other side, because Ben White was superb against Liverpool, bro. I was so impressed with him. And when he sat there in that first half and he nutmegged Curtis Jones, I was like, wow, you're balling out here, Ben White. Like, let's be real. This season, he's not disappointed me, but it's just been a bit meh with Ben White. And I really think the last couple of performances, we've started to see the Ben White of old, bro. So do you think that's a compliment to him? Do you think that it's the change of style? Do you think he's just gone through a bit of a bad patch? What's your thoughts on Ben White, bro?
It's probably a bit of everything, but I'd say with Benjamin White, it's one where I'd love to be a fly on the wall, because it takes me back to Rob Holding a few years ago, where he mentioned in a podcast Benjamin White's always playing with injuries, and now we always see news that he's carrying knocks and all of these things. So I think the main thing has probably been Benjamin White has finally looked fit. Like, you've seen him overlap, you've seen him back to his best. And, you know, as you know, in football, them couple of percentages makes all the difference. I think Benjamin White's another very underrated player. And when you play like how you played against Liverpool, you don't need to watch football. I think him and Saka going back to basics, dyeing their hair back to normal. They're back now, isn't it? Really and truly, man. I think Benjamin White, I think it's fitness, man. I think he just looks fit. He's been able to breathe. And that's kind of where you would want to have more players available, as you kind of said, with Tomiyasu and Timber, because there could have been times to save the likes of Benjamin White's legs and things. And, you know, next season, I do think if there was one criticism, there's not too many games you can rest these players, but if you can give rest to Gabriel, to Saliba, to Benjamin White on occasion, Mikel Arteta, I think we're laughing, really, man. So yeah, big up Benjamin White. He had a great game. and he's back.
Yeah, 100, man. Listen, before we go into the weekend stuff, I wanted to talk quickly on the David Raya situation. He must be playing all right because we're not talking about Ramsdale coming back in now, mate.
Yeah.
It seems strange, bro. Every time that we're talking every weekend, it's like Ramsdale, Ramsdale. Actually, he's done all right. And you know what? There's actually a stat the other day I was reading that apparently we've started to look better when he's been doing those quick throw-ins. We've actually made something happen from them. And that was apparently why we bought him, his kick-in and his throw-on and his like quick thinking and stuff like that. He's looked a little bit better at the back. I'm still not too sure that Raya is a massive upgrade on Aaron Ramsdale. But my question to you is, what have you made of him in the last couple of games, bro?
I actually think, without like micromanaging who could have done better, I think when we was going through that kind of shaky period, I think, especially the Liverpool game, I think Raya was doing okay, just not to be a talking point. You mentioned it there, on a couple of occasions this season, you see it against Palace, you saw it against City, and while there wasn't any like standout moments with his distribution per se against Liverpool, I think that was a real underrated aspect in that, he wants to play it quickly. So if he's going to do kind of those things, I can see why he's in the team and Raya's doing okay. I'm still waiting to be wowed by Raya and, like a Ramsdale performance at Anfield last season where you're under the caution, you're doing a madness, and that kind of gives me confidence. But yeah, man, I think Raya's done calm, man. I think Raya's done okay at the moment, man, and he's doing his bit to kind of justify, why Mikel Arteta brought you in, really. And I mean, Ramsdale's our guy. I feel sorry for you, but like, Raya's not done nothing wrong at this moment, man.
No, he hasn't. He's been great in the last couple of games. Listen, we've got West Ham at the weekend, bro, and it's like weird with West Ham. They seem to feel as a fan base that they're gonna try to get some rivalry with Arsenal in the last few games just because of the Declan Rice stuff and how that ended up. I never really hated on West Ham, if I'm honest, over the years because they weren't ever really rivalry with us. They always used to have a bit of banter because they also hated Tottenham. But this last couple of games that we played them, I've seen some really mad things, bro. And the Declan Rice abuse and all this stuff that he's been receiving is absolutely mental. But what do you make of this one going in? Because we've lost them in the Carabao Cup, which was obviously a little bit of a different fixture with the team that we selected. But we literally destroyed them at the Emirates in terms of possession. But they absolutely had our number. And I actually feel like David Moyes has had Mikel's number a couple of times that we played him in the last few seasons. So what do you make of this one going into this game, bro?
I mean, you said it, man. Arteta's got to get one over on his former manager. Really, it seems like David Moyes and West Ham have had our number. Maybe it was in the contract for the deal to take Declan Rice, but we need 3 points in it, really and truly. Again, I don't think we're going to win a league, but if we are to have any opportunity to do such, we will drop points again. But we kind of got to eradicate that, and I think we kind of have to go on a run. Liverpool have still only got 2 L's this season. City are coming back into it, and everyone's been expecting that. We need to go and get 3 points. I mean, you said it there. I mean, I've got nothing but respect for West Ham and them as a club. But it does feel like even just before we signed Declan Rice, there's this rivalry or this Arsenal hate developing within them. And I still feel the same way about West Ham, but we just need 3 points. It's business as usual. They're going to be up for it. They're really going to be up for it. Declan Rice is going to be given a warm reception. Of course, you want to see him welcomed by West Ham fans, and I think they still hold Declan Rice in high regards. But end of the day, the game's the game, innit? You're gonna get booed. You don't play for them anymore. Simple as that, bro. We got to get 3 points. We know they're a quality side. They got, I don't know if he's fit, but the Paquetas, the Kuduses, the Bowens. We know what West Ham are about, really. So we need to turn up there, absorb any sort of pressure, because I think it will be quite of an even game. But we need to go into it with the same mentality about Liverpool and with the same confidence that we've shown in the 3 games prior. And simply put, bro, just get 3 points, man. Just rock up there and get 3 points and keep it moving. And I want these lot to remember last season, really, where we went 2 goals up, we got a bit complacent and we effed it. So from minute 0 to minute 90, ferocious approach, man. Let's get the 3 points and head back to North.
Yeah, 100%, man. You mentioned Declan Rice. I must say, the game at the Emirates, I didn't think he was great. And he came on 3-0 down at the Carabao Cup and he looked awful. So this, for me, is time for him to actually show that it ain't affected him mentally. He still loves the club, but he'll give 110 at Arsenal. And I'm actually looking at Declan Rice and Jorginho more than anybody else at the moment because it was so vital and pivotal against Liverpool. And I'm wondering how it will turn out in this West Ham game because they've got Calvin Phillips, Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, Souček. I believe that Paqueta is out injured still. I'm not sure he's going to make the game, but I can see this one being a really good game. But do you feel like we can boss that midfield because that is probably their strongest part of their team, in my opinion, in terms of how they play? I know their front three is very good, but it's all fit. But right now, Paqueta out, I'd say their midfield is probably their strength, and I just feel we need to boss that, mate.
You said it yourself. Football is ultimately decided in the defensive and attacking third, but it's the midfield, and they've got height on them. Dead balls. When you got someone delivering them like Ward-Prowse, you've got to be on that. They've got monsters in there. It's tenacious. I'm not sure for bossing. I know Declan Rice could do his thing. To answer your question about bossing, it would be nice to have had Partey. Hopefully, we can turn it more into a football match versus like a slug fight, because I think that's where the Jorginhos, the Odegaards, assuming Zinchenko starts going into midfield. And that's where I'm kind of interested to see what we do with Kai Havertz. Does Kai Havertz start up front again? Because one aspect against Liverpool, he was dropping in. Does he go back to the 8 and Jorginho's on the bench? I'm not sure, but I expect it to be a fight, but we have to win that midfield battle. You stop the midfield battle, you've got Tomiyasu and Benjamin White being strong 1v1 against their wingers. We should be able to do the job, man. But I think defensively, because if there is anything, I think we're an improved defensive side, but I think we keep giving teams a bit of hope. Again, it worked out well for us, but we shouldn't have conceded against Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, and them teams didn't have to do much to score. If you do that at their place, how many times have we seen us dominate possession, an opposition chance is given and they score? So we're going to have to dominate midfield, really. We're going to, and it's a day where we're going to have to be strong 1v1. This is why I want to see Tomiyasu against whoever's on the right. This is where I'm going to need Gabriel and Saliba to be colossal. Benjamin White the same. And yeah, man, the midfield battle, I'm not sure for bossing it, but we're going to have to win. If it's a thing where we lose the war, let's win the battles, really. Because again, someone like Souček, he makes good third man runs as well. So we're going to need to be on it, man. We really are going to need to be on it, really.
Yeah, listen, it's time we beat them there. Obviously, last season it weren't great. It was the start of our title where kind of decided going downhill. This season, Carabao Cup was a bit of a disaster, to be fair. And then this season at the Emirates, it ain't been a fun side to play. It's turned into a bit of a bogey team, West Ham, which is a shame. And I just feel like we need to put that right now, brother. We need to go there and actually light it up. We discussed like what we would do. Do you think it will be the same team that we played against Liverpool? Do you think Zinchenko, if he's out, we might go with Kiwior or Tomiyasu, but everything else will remain the same, do you think?
I think it's a weird one with Mikel Arteta, because you never know. He could very well do something random, but I just feel the team's maybe to a degree, the team's kind of picking itself. I know, give or take, in the last 3 games, Martinelli might have been on the bench, Trossard might have come in, Jorginho's obviously played, and there's been a little other bits and pieces there. But I could understand if he goes with the same 11, but I'm not sure against West Ham. I think I think if Zinchenko's fit, he's going to start, but I think Tomiyasu has to come in. If Jesus is fit, I start Jesus. So I don't know where we'd be, Dan, with someone like Kai Havertz. Does he go back into the 8? Do you drop him to the bench and he could be a super sub? Or do you go with a Smith Rowe or Jorginho? Because I still think in that left 8, while Jorginho was great, and I'm not trying to water his campaign, there's other examples where he's done a bit shaky. I think that midfield 8 is a piece of a missing puzzle. And I think when you look at, me, I'm a big fan of Smith Rowe. Jorginho's been doing his thing, and we're at where we're at with Kai Havertz. But I don't think anybody is 100% convinced that any of those names is 100% the best option. So it's a difficult one. You know what? If I had to guess, I would say, assuming Zinchenko's not fit, same defense apart from Tomiyasu coming in. I reckon Kai Havertz in the left-hand channel next to Declan Rice and Odegaard. I reckon Jesus up front and Saka and Martinelli on the flanks, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, what I'd like to see happen is keep the same team and put Tomiyasu in there if Zinchenko's there, because for me, I just don't think we should be changing it up too much. I think the midfield is absolutely key as to why it works so well against Liverpool. And I think when people say, it won't be the same against West Ham, I don't want to be changing it up to putting Kai Havertz back in there. I understand he needs a little bit of presence and some attributes, but Rice can do that. Rice can have that presence and attributes. And I just don't really think we should be changing it up too much, because when you're winning games, man, why change it? You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I see it. If Jesus comes back into the mix, I honestly would leave him on the bench and bring him on and use him as an impact sub. And likewise with Zinchenko, if he comes back into the mix, I'd leave both of them on the bench, and that's 2 good subs along with Trossard, Smith Rowe, people like that you can bring on. So actually, it's nice to have a bench where you can bring on some quality as opposed to...
We don't get to say that too many times, man.
Yeah, as opposed to flinging on Eddie and Nelson and hoping for the best. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it's been for most part of the start of this season, bro. So that's absolutely mad. But yeah, an interesting one. Listen, one thing that I definitely have seen changed, which is a strange thing to say that we've improved upon, because we've actually had set pieces stats-wise that suggest we're one of the best in the league when it comes to goals scored and defending against. But they were starting to get really poor before we went to Dubai. Trossard wasn't beating the first man. Neither was Saka. It was clearly something we were trying to work on, whether it be a near post flick on, but it just was not working at all, man. We started to see changes now. What have you seen change and what have you seen improve, bro?
I think it's mental, really and truly, man. I think, you know, even when not that I don't have the stats to hand, but it felt like in the first half or the majority of the game in the FA Cup, it felt like we had more chances to score against Liverpool than the one in the Prem. But I think the difference is in that FA Cup game, for example, people are missing chances and they're looking like it's the end of the world. In the Premier League, we're just getting on with it. I think a lot of it has just been breathing, getting back to basics, probably going off to a new country in a new environment and just being able to breathe for a second, really, man. I guess from a tactical point, this is where you'd love to be a fly on the wall. Maybe there's been tweaks of different runs to make and different deliveries and when to exploit different moments. But I just think, honestly, we've got back to basics, man. And everyone is just holding themselves accountable and we're just starting again, really. Like that comment says, probably the handbrake is off, essentially, is what I'm alluding to. I would say I think it's mental more than tactics, if I'm honest. Because when we were sat on my platform and Troops' platform, when it was a bit more negative, you know, it's still the same players, really and truly. I just think the mentality and the mental aspect just looks very different. So long may it continue, man, because we're gonna need it until May. You see yourself, February to March, we got some crazy games, some crazy fixtures, and going to some crazy places. We need to stand up and be counted, man.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Listen, what I've seen is two things that are very, very clear when I've gone to the Emirates and seen them live. And to be fair, in away games, Nicholas Jova has kind of appeared again on
Yeah,
the sidelines. He's standing
yeah.
up
To
and
be
he's
fair, yeah,
sort of thinking, "What's happening here?" He's a lot more vocal, and he kind of it's not disappeared, but it kind of wasn't apparent that he was getting up and involved as much. And the other thing is Declan Rice is taking corners from the left hand side now, which is something that I never thought I'd see with his right foot. I just never thought Rice would be the guy that'd be taking
yeah,
corners because of his presence and size. I thought he'd be in there, you know.
yeah.
So actually, it's worked quite well. Saka definitely has changed his tune with his corners as well, and Leo Trossard has been dropped from him, which just needed to happen. Yeah, I like Trossard a lot, but he ain't a corner taker from what I can tell. It was really struggling. Him and Martinelli together, it just weren't working on that side, which is obviously
Facts.
why essentially Rice has come over and now taken that out of their hands. But it's definitely something that has changed and something since Dubai that they've clearly worked on because we've actually looked a lot better. I think against Palace, Gabriel got 2 from corners,
Yeah,
one from Saka, one from Rice, and I was like, wow, they've worked on that because none of those beat the first man. It was all like, sorry, went near the
facts.
first man. They all just got over the top. So yeah, definitely something that we've changed on. Bro, the last thing I want to do before we close, man, is talk about this situation with Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen because both of them in the last couple of weeks we've actually seen play. One being in the AFCON and the other being in the Premier League. Ivan Toney's come back with a bang, scored on his debut game from his gambling ban, got the free kick. It was quite shithousery the way that he got it as well. It was quite
Yeah,
funny. And then obviously he's done well in the games that he has played. And then Victor Osimhen has been pretty kind of vocal in the Nigerian fixtures. I don't think he's been banging them in from what I hear. A couple of bad performances, but apparently in terms of his work rate and the games that
yeah.
he has played, he's looked good. But I haven't watched much of the AFCON, but I know you have, bro. So what have you made of Victor Osimhen, first of all, bro?
I mean, you know, in terms of Victor Osimhen, I wouldn't say he set the world alight. And, you know, I mean, clearly I'm a big fan of him. You are as well. We rate him and all of that. But in isolation to AFCON, I think he's just been doing his job. I think he's been doing a lot of dirty work. I've got to see different bits and pieces in terms of the runs he makes, when to drop short, little smart fouls. Like, I can't remember the game, but there's been a couple of times he might not be credited with the assist, but he's just forced an error from a defender. And obviously his Nigerian teammates have capitalized on it. So, I mean, if there was any more confirmation I needed about Victor Osimhen being a baller, I think he showed me the less glamorous, the parts of your game that are not necessarily going to be on YouTube, really. And end of the day, his team's in the final, in it, so he's doing all right. So I wanted Osimhen before, I definitely want him now. As you know yourself, bro, where it comes to money and Chelsea and all these teams linked with him, he's even been linked with PSG today. Who knows? But hopefully we can get that over the line. Ivan Toney, another one me and you have spoken about at length. Who wouldn't want him? You know, free kicks, shithousery, you know, his general play, Premier League proven. I believe one of the more attainable footballers in terms of the striking position, because he's going to have a year left on his deal in the summer. Thomas Frank come out yesterday. I'm sure you've covered it and said we expect him to go. As we know, Ivan Toney's doing all he can with any media house that lets him speak to say, I want to cut. So yeah, I've said it before, man. I ain't really got a preference. Just bring me an Ivan Toney, bring me an Osimhen, bring me one of those caliber strikers, and then we can aspire to go to the next level, broski, man. We get one of them, we're laughing. There's no way around it. As much as I like, you know, we have to praise Kai Havertz for the Liverpool game, and I'm a big fan of Jesus. We need a proven goal scorer, someone that wants to score goals. So yeah, and I think when you look at Ivan Toney and Osimhen, there's obviously similarities, but they're very different. And when you look at half the strikers that Arsenal were linked with, You know, there's a lot of similarities in terms of their work rate and stuff like that, but they're all very different. So it always leaves me to think to myself, what does Mikel Arteta want from a striker beyond the obvious? But bring either one to the carpet in the summer. It needs to get done. Edu's got to make phone calls, bro, immediately.
Yeah, absolutely, he does, man. Listen, there's a poll in the chat. Who would you rather have, Tony or Osimhen at Arsenal? If you had the choice of both, listen, it might be that we go for someone completely different in the summer.
Such
And
is
the
life,
window,
isn't it?
yeah, we'll probably end up with someone we never heard of. Alexander
Probably.
Isak is the other one that where people are talking about, but I just don't see Newcastle selling him to Arsenal personally.
I would love that, though.
But yeah, he's the one that I would absolutely love. But Ivan Toney, I'll tell you where I'm at with this situation, DG, right? Ivan Toney is probably less of a risk because he's already here banging in goals. But Osimhen is for the money. If you're going to be paid a big chunk of it from Ivan Toney, if you're looking at what he has been doing at Napoli, I think if he was to continue and carry that form over to Arsenal, we've got ourselves an unbelievable centre forward. So for the fact
25
of
as well, isn't it?
yeah, and he's
Or
got the
something like
age on
that.
his side as well, bruv. So if it was a fact of having to pay close to 100 for Tony or the release clause, I think of 112 or 120 for Osimhen, it's a tough one for me, but I'm probably looking towards Osimhen because sometimes you've got to take risks if you want to go win that title. The thing is with Ivan Toney is he is kind of ready now, and it's 27. It's not like he's 37. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean?
People move like it's
Um,
finished. Yeah.
yeah, but I've seen enough of Osimhen to see that he's a beast. I've seen enough of him to know that he knows where the goal is. But Ivan Toney, for me, there's something about him that I like in terms of his mentality. People talk
Yeah.
about it being a kind of, oh, I might not get on with Arteta. He might not want him to be that guy. Arteta might not like that. I actually disagree. I think what he's heard in the podcasts and he's heard of his mentality is, I want to go win things. I want to be going to win the league. Do you know, was it a couple of years ago where he was at Brentford? He said, we should be trying to win the league, otherwise we failed. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's class, man. He
Even when
knows
he
he's
says,
got
I believe I'm going to score every game, like obviously you're not, but the mentality, as you
100.
said, like we're not here to make friends. We're here to win games, man. I'm convinced with Tony,
100.
and we've got to, man. You know, again, we don't know what the club's doing, but when you listen to the Romanos and this guy and that guy, there's got to be a level of credibility in Arsenal going for Ivan Toney. And we both know before Mikel Arteta draws for the tactics or anything, it's the character references being done in today's day and age. So he can't have any concerns about it. Yeah, the gambling thing, it is what it is.
Oh, you've clipped yourself on mute, bro. No? Or have you not?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's it now. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
hear
I
you
don't know
back
what
now.
happened there. Google's hated, man. But yeah, as I was saying, like there's obviously got to have been some sort of character reference before he's even looked at how Ivan Toney can tie into the team and etc. So I don't think there's anything to worry about, man. I think Brentford could have, you know, many clubs would have just washed their hands with Ivan Toney. They stood by him beyond the obvious. They know they need the forward. So I don't have any concerns about Toney. I would say though, like we don't know if Ivan Toney's going to do it in an Arsenal shirt. And where Osimhen's concerned, I guess some people would say, oh, Italy, you look at half the players that went over there and are consistent. They've been able to do it. But like you said, we need to spend big. Striker is glaringly obvious that we need to bring in. And we're not going to, in my opinion, be able to really, truly believe we can win a Prem or a Champs until, amongst other things, we have that serious striker.
100%, man. Highbury's local badger says, big up Dan and Laguna. We need two strikers. I want Ivan Toney as my 9 and Dusan Vlahovic as my 14. Keep Osimhen well away from Arsenal. Do you know, it's mad because there's been a couple of people that have said this.
Yeah.
Like, Osimhen, it's going to be overrated. Don't do it. It'll come and it'll be a flop. I don't know that you can say that. I think that's just literally a guess. I have no anticipation of that. I've seen what he can do, and I've been a fan of it. Ivan Toney probably would be less of a risk, but if you look at Ivan Toney, he could come to Arsenal and he could be like, where's the Ivan Toney from Brentford? Every single signing is a risk, man.
Exactly.
You can never look like that. You've got to go into every single signing confident that they're going to be that guy. In the poll, 68% at the moment saying that they want Toney. Only 32% want Osimhen. So a lot of the chat saying they'll be happy with Ivan Toney in the summer.
I think Osimhen's had 14 injuries or something, apparently, last
wow.
time.
Oh, my word. Yeah. I didn't know that, you know.
I think I saw that on Transfer Mark. So obviously this is years in total, but it's like, Arsenal tax, that could be scary, man.
Yeah, that's not what I want to hear, man. I must say, but yeah, man. Lil Timms has said that this is interesting. Says, I watch every Napoli game, Dan. He misses a lot of chances. He's a Jesus 2.0. Listen, I don't watch Napoli well enough to know that is true or false, but I'll take your word for it, Lil Timms.
But Haaland misses a lot. Salah misses a lot. Like, I want my striker to be up there for big chances missed because it means you're getting in the area, man, beyond the obvious.
Yeah, can be. Can be like that, man. Can be like that. Well, 70% people want Ivan Toney, and Thomas Frank said he's going in the summer. So with a year left, he probably ain't going to go for 100 million, is he? It's probably going to be close between 70 and 80, I imagine,
Yeah.
because they'll want to get some good money for him. And he's probably worth that, to be fair, if you look at it. Things the way the market is at the moment, you can't really say anyone's worth anything because it's all like over 100
Facts.
million, isn't it?
And
It's
we've shown
absolutely
our hand
crazy.
with a couple of transfer deals, so
Bruv,
who knows?
it really has, man. Really has. But listen, to close, man, Arsenal in the title race is what everyone's talking about now. It's kind of weird, the commotion at the end of the game. It was like, Arsenal better win this, otherwise that's it. And then when they do win it, everyone's like, it don't really mean much anyway. City is still going to win it. It's like, you can't win, man. The goalposts always seem to be changing, which is why I understand why some of the Arsenal fans get extremely frustrated. Now, personally, I think it's funny because we rattled everybody again somehow, even though I didn't
Facts.
actually expect us to. I thought by beating Liverpool, it wouldn't rattle them. They just get on with it and go, oh, wow, that's Arsenal might be back in it. Let's move. But they're all absolutely having meltdowns. It's crazy. I don't get it. I think they so badly wanted Arsenal to lose so they could have a big, massive topical debate about how Arsenal thrown away in February
Yeah.
and Arteta's got to go and all this. They just want all these topics to debate, but we shut everybody up. We rattled everybody and it's brilliant. But what does it mean to you, bruv? Where are we in terms of a title race, do you think, bruv?
Boy, it's a good bit of wind in our sails, but I think we're going to need a lot more than that. I feel in isolation, the Liverpool game's great in this season. To know that we've beaten them both at home is obviously amazing. I still don't think we do it. I still think we're the third best team in comparison to Liverpool and City. You can consider the fact that their team and their manager, they've done it. And I know everyone's going to drop points, but we need to assume that we're not going to drop any silly more points now. And obviously no injuries can hurt us. And I know it didn't cost us against Nottingham Forest and obviously Liverpool. And I might be looking for things where they're not, but I genuinely think when you want to win a Premier League title, you have to do that. I don't think there's been too many times our football club, and this ain't to say we're the biggest and baddest, have been outplayed across 90 minutes this season. I think for an hour really at Stamford Bridge, I definitely feel in the League Cup against West Ham and I feel in the league against Fulham. But other than that, you know, we've kind of been indifferent with 90 minutes. Sometimes we've been the better team and not had the street smartness to focus for 90 minutes or score the goals. So I do think we can be our own worst enemies. If we can arrest these things and ride this wave of positive form, then who knows? But as you know yourself, Old Trafford, regardless of United's form, we don't travel well there. We still got to go to the Etihad. We still got to, I think we got to go away to Brighton. And every Premier League game's tough, man. So all we can do is just win the games and change the narrative. You go back 2 months ago, you know, these media houses and things, they were sitting there saying it's done for with Arsenal. Now, as you said, you know, they're flipping the script and things. So the narrative can change very quickly, innit? Let's just hope that this Dubai trip, that whatever we did in Dubai just continues, bro, man. And hopefully we can, like you said, I think it was actually on your channel like a few months ago, where you said you kind of, at minimum, while you want to win a title, at least make it a conversation in May. Don't let it be that it's done before it's time. So that's all we can do, man. I think City are going to go on a crazy run. I think Liverpool have only got 2 L's. So yeah, it's going to be a tough ask, man. And I don't think we really have the tools for it, but I want to be wrong. I really do. And I'm sure every Arsenal fan who feels like me wants to be wrong. But yeah, man, let's just keep going, man. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, facts, man. Listen, make sure you do what Aaron is suggesting. Big up to Aaron. Aaron's a member of the channel.
Big
If you
him
do
up.
want to be a member of the channel, then you can be. All you need to do is go press like, subscribe, join. 3 clicks, and you are there. Make sure you do that, please, people. We're up towards very, very close towards 16K on the road to 20K. So make
Subscribe,
sure that
man.
you're part of it, man. Big up. Listen, this is how I see it. Man City, Liverpool. I don't see them dropping many points, bro. I really don't. I think they're top quality sides.
Yeah.
And like you were saying about, I'm not sure they're going to drop many, not sure how many we can drop. I actually don't think we can really afford to drop any more than maybe 2 games between now
See
and
what
the
I'm
end of the
saying,
season.
bro? And we're in
That's how
February.
perfect. Exactly. That's how perfect it's got to be. And we're in February, which means, and in that time, we've still got to go to Old Trafford. We've still got to go to White Hart Lane. We've still
Champions
got to
League
go.
comes into it as well.
Bruv, it's difficult, man. And I just
Big
don't
ups.
see us winning the league because of that ask. So that's where I'm at. It's not negative. I'm just being realistic about it. I feel like Man City are absolutely phenomenal between this time of the year till May. They're pretty much faultless in most seasons. So that means that we have to go to the Etihad and win. And we also have to make sure that if we're going to go anywhere near dropping points, that there ain't more than 2 more games. And that might have to be a draw, no more losses as well. Do you know what I'm
This is
saying?
the
Or a
thing.
loss and a draw, and that's it, win the rest, because I just don't know that we're going to be able to go for a title other than that, because we've already messed up the Christmas period if we wanted a title race. And
Yeah.
we've done this too many times, Digi. Last season, we did it on the back end of the season. We did it against teams like Brighton, Forest, West Ham, Southampton. Now we've already done it again against teams like West Ham, against teams like Fulham, which we haven't been able to beat this season,
Oh,
by
the
the
two
way.
Fulham games,
You know what
terrible,
I'm
man.
saying?
Even
Terrible.
Chelsea as well. That Chelsea game at the Bridge,
Stamford
I was
Bridge.
very frustrated, man. Shouldn't have done that. But that's what I meant when I said, like, we sometimes are our own worst enemies. And I think when that gets eradicated, wherever it is, however Arteta does it, that's when I can like wholeheartedly believe we can win Prems and do these things. We just haven't got that in us at this moment. We're on a good trajectory, but in terms of winning the league, I think we're in that territory where, as you said, we need to take multiple points, but also we probably need favorable factors. We probably need Liverpool and City to have some off days. And how many do they have, bro? It's crazy.
Not many, man. Not
This is
many.
it.
It's going to be tough, man. But listen, let's hope we start with a win at the weekend and then try to keep this momentum going. DG, it's always a pleasure speaking to you. Deluded, absolutely love your content and love for coming on, bruv. What you got coming up and how can people follow you, bro?
Appreciate you for always inviting me and extending the olive branch, man. It's always a pleasure to be here. In terms of other content, it should be out already, but I spoke about, the Osman and the Tony news on my channel. I did an Arsenal fan show yesterday, I think it came out. So there's always something on my platform. But yeah, if you want to find me, just type in Deluded Gooner on YouTube or Deluded Gooner 04 on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I run out of how many social things us content creators need, but just type in Deluded Good or Deluded Good 04 and I'm sure you'll find me, man. And appreciate you for having me on once again, bro.
Nah, come on, man. You're always welcome. You know that. I'll be
Come
over
on.
on yours again soon, I'm sure. And we'll get you on this platform a lot more. Listen, make sure you go follow Deluded Gooner. Make sure you go follow on socials. Make sure you like and subscribe to this as well, please, people, on the road to 20K. So let's make sure that we get there quickly. We are out of here. Up the Arsenal. Take it
Come on.
easy and smash a like on the way out. Peace.
Come on.